watching GearWire.com, and we are at the Pitchfork Music Festival 2010, and we're here with Jon from Bear in Heaven. How's it going?
Good.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no doubt.
So talk to me a little bit about how Bear in Heaven kind of started and how it kind of evolved into more of like a full band project.
I started, kind of making noise music.
Okay.
And then I kind of slowly progressed into, a small studio space. Okay. I used to work at this film studio, and the guy that ran the place decided that he wanted a sound design studio. So I was like, okay, I'll help you build that. And
so you just come from film originally?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually an editor.
Ah, right on.
And shooter and doing all that stuff too.
Yeah.
But then music is like a passion, and I've done sound design and stuff too. So
cool.
I helped build this studio together, and then started kind of like making music on off hours, and that's how it started.
So when you were first programming, like what programs were you? What programs were you working in? Like how were you composing music to start off?
Pro Tools.
Yeah.
Straight up. I mean, it was pretty basic. I think I had like a EMU, sampler, synthesizer kind of thing. Really kind of rudimentary sampler, and take that and try and just twist stuff. I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
Are you like an analog synth guy now? Or do you when you're composing or recording ever?
I don't really put a door on that. I'll use plugins, and I have a few kind of emulated analog synths. Like I use a Virus TI a lot, and the Nord modular. But then also I have an old Crumar that I go to. It's like a really great. The orchestrator, it's great. It's like a great place to make source sounds.
Yeah.
And then I've been a Ableton user since it started.
Oh, right on.
And I kind of.
Do you use Ableton actually live? Do you use live?
We're just now starting to use Ableton to run our lights.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How do you interface that?
DMXs.
Okay.
And DMXs is the fader basically, and then Ableton can kind of run DMXs.
Cool. Ableton can kind of do anything, apparently.
Apparently it can, yeah. If you know how to build something correctly, it can do it.
Yeah.
Video or audio, it's a really genius program.
Yeah. So at what point, did you realize that you needed to sort of bring additional musicians on? When did the band start growing? Well, into a band, I guess.
The band started growing, I guess when I moved to New York. I was in Atlanta, and then I moved to New York, and I put out a record that was just a bunch of my studio recordings that I'd done. And then my friends were psyched, it was let's make a band. We weren't intending to make this band. We were intending to make another band. And then we just basically got together, and we just made basically noise for about a year. We recorded it, and we were like, yeah, we're making songs. And then we were we weren't really making songs. We were just making noise, which was great. It was great fun.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I can't remember the switch, we were well, let's try these songs that you made. So then we started trying to learn them, which was an impossible task, because I had no idea what I was doing. I would write ridiculous amounts of bars, and nothing would repeat. It was stupid. So then that just kind of carried on, and we, kept writing it. Yeah. Now we write all together.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I guess, since it started off sort of as your project, I assume that, it wouldn't go into the sort of collaborative writing sphere, but it sounds like that's where it's at right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of it's gotten to the point where we have a dialogue, and it just works. And everybody, we're all on the same page, so. Yeah. And it's good to have that voice of reason, because sometimes you can just get lost.
Right.
And make boring music. Who wants that? Boring.
So how do you guys what was the production process for the latest album? Did you guys do demos? Did you do pre-production for it?
We recorded a majority of it, I'd say 90% of it, in our practice space. Some in my apartment, and then we had 2 nights at our friend's studio. He was gracious enough to help us out, Eric Elterman. Badass engineer.
Well done, Eric.
And then we kind of just put it together that way. Just moving around and trying to get what we could where we could.
Cool. Are there live drums on the record?
There are lots of live drums.
Yeah.
It's all live drums.
Yeah. Was that recorded in the studio, or is that in your practice spaces?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
And how do you? There's a lot of sort of like note repeat and like sort of, I guess, rhythm-based synth patterns that are on the record. How do you accomplish those live? Are you playing with a click?
We do play with a click. Yeah. It's not always foolproof though.
Yeah.
It's actually very far from that fact. Because you can get note drift just by being like a 16th off, and it's not easy. I thought, I was like, this will solve all of our problems. No. It's created a whole new set of problems. But yeah.
How do you overcome those problems in the middle of a set?
Just try and ignore it and then go forward.
It's like the age-old strategy of live performance.
Yeah, it sometimes works and sometimes, I mean, there's definitely like this, it could fall apart, and I have that in the back of my head during the entire performance. I try to ignore it,
Right.
It feels really good when you get it, like when you hit it just like right on and everything like sequences out, like, great.
And how do you interface everything? Is it just MIDI, like sort of like a MIDI loop for like all the synths and everything?
Well, yeah, I mean, essentially, like, because when we were a 4-piece, the record was written as a 4-piece. We would just play stuff live.
Yeah.
And now that we're a 3-piece, there's kind of like looping involved, and because I had to take over for the other synthesizer player.
Yeah, right.
So I play synth. I'm playing his parts and my parts simultaneously.
Okay.
So it's like loops, and I'm playing his loops and my loops at the same time, and it's kind of tricky sometimes.
Are you triggering those loops in live also, or how are you triggering the loops?
I have an MPC and a SP404.
Cool. Right on.
And yeah, it's just kind of like, I hit it and it's either on or it's off. And
Yeah, right on.
I hope that it's on.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to the set, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool. Thanks very much.
Take care.